Chairman Markey, thank you for holding this hearing and for your tenacious work on this issue. You've been a true champion for transparency and accountability, and your efforts have kept Congress and the administration and the American people informed about the environmental disaster unfolding in the Gulf. Yesterday, Chairman Stupak and I released a letter describing a series of questionable decisions made by BP in the days before the blowout. Time after time, BP appears to have taken shortcuts that increase the risks of catastrophic blowout. One of the central questions for today's hearing is whether the other oil companies are any better prepared than BP. Last week, after receiving a request from Representative Wiener, the committee asked each of the 5 major oil companies for their oil spill response plans. On paper, they are very impressive. Each document has more than 500 pages long, and if I might, I'll hold up the document that is the contingency plan. But what they show is that ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, and Shell are no better prepared to deal with a major oil spill than BP. The same company, the response group, wrote the 5 plans and described them as cookie-cutter plans. Much of the text is identical. 4 of the plans discuss how to protect walruses, but there are no walruses in the Gulf of Mexico. We analyzed 2 key parts of the plans: the provisions for stopping a subsea blowout, like the one that is spewing oil across the Gulf, and their worst-case scenarios. We found that none of the 5 oil companies has an adequate response plan. It's instructive to compare ExxonMobil's plan for controlling a subsea blowout with BP's plan. Here's what BP says in its plan. In the event the spill source cannot be controlled by the facility operator or remotely with a safety system, BP will activate the oil spill response plan and assemble a team of technical experts to respond to the situation. And here's what ExxonMobil says, and you can see the text on the screen. In the event the spill source cannot be controlled by the facility operator or remotely with a safety system, ExxonMobil will activate the oil spill response and assemble a team of technical experts to respond to the situation. The plans are identical, and so are the plans for Chevron and ConocoPhillips. Shell did not give us a well-controlled contingency plan, but it says Shell would use the same strategies of top kills and junk shots that have already failed. Each of the 5 oil spill response plans also includes a section on responding to a worst-case scenario involving an offshore exploratory well. On paper, these plans look reassuring. BP's plan says it can handle a spill of 250,000 barrels per day. Both Chevron and Shell say they can handle over 200,000 barrels per day, and Exxon says it can handle over 150,000 barrels per day. That is far more oil than is currently leaking into the Gulf from BP's well. But when you look at the details, it becomes evident these plans are just paper exercises. BP failed miserably when confronted with a real leak, and one can only wonder whether ExxonMobil and the other companies would do any better. BP's plan says it contracted with the Marine Spill Response Corporation to provide equipment for a spill response. All the other companies rely on the same contractor. BP's plan says another contractor will organize its oil spill removal. Chevron, Shell, ExxonMobil use the same contractor. BP's plan relies on 22,000 gallons of dispersant stored in Kiln, Mississippi. Well, so do ExxonMobil and the other companies. I could go on, but I think you can get my point. These are cookie-cutter plans. ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, and Shell are as unprepared as BP was, and that's a serious problem. In their testimony and responses to questions, the companies say they are different than BP. But when you examine their actual oil spill response plans and compare them to BP, it's hard to share their confidence. At this hearing, Congress needs to review the evidence and pass new laws that put teeth into our regulatory system, but we cannot stop there. Our national energy policy is broken. We're addicted to oil, and this addiction is fouling our beaches, polluting our atmosphere, and undermining our national security. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.